Crazy one, chat. This is a crazy one. Uh, okay, we got parents, man, involved on this one, chat. We have parents involved on this one big time. So we have 25 parents that take revenge on the person that murdered their child or raped their child, whatever it was. There's different cases. It's gonna blow you away. We're gonna give you a bunch of caseloads this week. Friday's gonna be a banger at 7 p.m. Log on. That's gonna be our live time this week. We're gonna flood you with some of these new videos, but we're gonna start hitting them on Friday nights. So check it out. Here we go.
Number 1, Marianne Bachmeyer. At number 1 in this countdown of parents who took revenge on their child's perpetrator, there is no case more infamous, more shocking, or more divisive than that of Marianne Bachmeyer. This was not a crime carried out in the shadows or behind closed doors. It unfolded in broad daylight, inside a courtroom, in front of judges, lawyers, journalists, and the accused himself. When Marianne Bachmeyer pulled a handgun from her bag and fired again and again into the man who murdered her 7-year-old daughter, Anna
Wow.
Bachmeyer was described by those who knew her as bright, independent, and unusually mature for her age. She had grown up fast. Her mother, Marianne, worked long hours serving drinks at a pub in Lubeck, Germany, often late into the night. Anna learned early how to dress herself, prepare for school, and navigate the world with little supervision.
Wow.
On the morning of May 5th, 1980, after an argument with her mother the day before, Anna decided to skip school. It was meant as a childish
Yeah, take
act
my
of
medicine.
defiance. Instead, it became the last decision she ever made. That morning, Anna wandered through her neighborhood and encountered Klaus Grabowski, a man she recognized as a neighbor who kept cats. Grabowski, a convicted
Oh
offender with
man.
a long history of crimes against children, lured Anna into his home. What followed was a nightmare. He held her for hours, assaulted her, then choked her with a pair of tights. He placed her body into a cardboard box and attempted to bury it near a canal. By the time police arrived, it was already too late. Anna Bachmeyer was gone. When Marianne learned the truth, her world collapsed. Klaus Grabowski was arrested quickly, and his trial began the following year. But as the proceedings unfolded, Marianne sat in the courtroom and listened as the man who murdered her daughter spoke about Anna as if she were responsible for her own death. Grabowski claimed the child had threatened to expose him, that he panicked, that things went too far. To Marianne, each word felt like another violation, another attempt to stain her daughter's memory. On March 6, 1981, the third day of the trial, Marianne Bachmeyer walked into the Lubeck District Court carrying a small handgun
You go,
hidden in
girl.
her bag. She took her seat behind the defendant. When the moment came, she stood up, aimed at Grabowski's back, and pulled the trigger. 8 shots rang out. 7 struck their target. Klaus Grabowski collapsed and died almost instantly. The courtroom descended into chaos. Marianne did not resist arrest. She simply lowered the weapon and waited. News of the shooting exploded across Germany and beyond. Television crews flooded Lubeck. Newspapers ran her face on their front pages. Some hailed her as a mother who did what the justice system could not. Others condemned her as a perpetrator who undermined the rule of law. Letters, flowers, and money poured in from strangers who believed she had delivered justice with her own hands. At the same time, critics warned that no personal tragedy could justify execution without trial. Marianne was charged with murder, a crime that carried the possibility of life in prison. Her defense argued that she was under extreme emotional distress,
Yeah.
broken by grief and rage, pushed beyond the limits of human endurance. After weeks of testimony, the prosecution dropped the murder charge.
Let's be honest, chat. What would you do if somebody brutally murdered your child? And you know they're going to get life. Most of them don't even go to death row. They usually get 25 for murder. It's a hard one, man. But when you love your children, and I'll say this, and I'll say it again and again, though, there's no love like a mother's love. When a mother carries that child, gives birth to that child, lays with that child through sickness, good days, bad days. You know, dads are good, but come on, nothing like a mama's love, man. And if you got a mama's love in your life, you raised right. You got a mama's love in your life, you're raised right. Just her love is immoral, and because there's many good men that are raised by single moms. In fact, some of our greatest men ever lived in America and ever did anything in America were raised by single moms. Even some of our greatest heroes, war heroes. I know you're not no vigilantes, but I'll tell you what. As a man, you take my child. So that's a hard one, man. God, God knows that I don't ever want to face that. And I pray that I never have to. I pray you never have to. Chat, if you like it so far, please subscribe. Please one thing let the video play all the way to the end at least. If you enjoyed it, subscribe. If you didn't, I'll try to do better. Let's continue.
In March 1983, the court convicted her of manslaughter and unlawful possession of a firearm. She was sentenced to 6 years in prison. After serving 3, she was released early. After her release, Marianne Bachmeier tried to disappear from public life. She married, moved abroad, and lived for a time in Nigeria before settling in Sicily. But the shadow of her actions never left her. In interviews years later, she said she did not regret what she had done. She believed she acted deliberately, not in a moment of madness, but to stop a man she saw as evil from continuing to lie about her child. In 1996, Marianne Bachmeier died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 46. She was buried beside Anna, mother and daughter reunited at last. Number 1. Miriam Rodriguez Martinez. We have Miriam Rodriguez Martinez, a Mexican mother from San Fernando, Tamaulipas, whose relentless pursuit of justice turned her from a grieving parent into a cartel target. Miriam was not a trained investigator, a police officer, or a vigilante by choice. She was a mother whose daughter was taken, ignored by authorities, and ultimately murdered. When the system failed her, Miriam chose to act knowing full well that her determination could cost her everything. Miriam Elizabeth Rodriguez Martinez was born on February 5, 1960, in the violence-scarred city of San Fernando. Her life was shattered in 2012 when her daughter Karen Alejandra Salinas Rodriguez was kidnapped while driving through the area. 2 trucks boxed Karen in. Armed men forced their way into her vehicle, and she was driven away without a trace. Soon after, the family began receiving calls from the Zetas cartel demanding ransom money. Terrified but hopeful, the family took out a loan to pay the ransom and followed every instruction. Despite complying fully, Karen was never released. The calls stopped. The silence that followed was devastating. With little assistance from authorities, Miriam took matters into her own hands. In 2014, Karen's remains were discovered, confirming what Miriam already feared. But instead of retreating into grief, she transformed it into resolve. Miriam began conducting her own investigation, using disguises, fake identities, and social media to track down those responsible. She dyed her hair,
Wow.
wore old uniforms, and posed as a poll worker to question neighbors without raising suspicion.
Dang.
At one point,
That
she
girl was
even met with a cartel
dedicated.
member who promised information for a fee. Although he lied, Miriam gained a critical lead, a name that
Damn.
would open the door to the truth.
She was a
That
poll
name
worker.
was Sama. Using social media, Miriam located him and followed his connections with painstaking patience. She recognized one of his associates by an ice cream shop uniform, waited outside the store for hours, and followed her home. Despite repeated dismissals by officials, Miriam eventually found a federal police officer willing to listen.
Wow.
Sama was arrested, and under pressure, he revealed the names of other cartel members involved in Karen's abduction. One suspect later led authorities to a ranch where Karen had been murdered. There, Miriam found personal items belonging to her daughter, including a scarf, a cushion from her truck, and part of her femur bone. The discovery deepened her grief, but strengthened her resolve. Over the next 3 years, Miriam helped authorities track down nearly every individual connected to the crime.
Ooh,
10 people were arrested as a direct result of her investigation.
man.
Some were imprisoned, while others were reportedly murdered during raids. In one extraordinary moment, Miriam personally captured a suspect known as the florist, holding him at gunpoint for more than an hour until police arrived. She showed no hesitation, no fear. To her justice for her daughter out.
The scorn of a mother. Let me tell you, man. She loved her daughter, huh? Man, mamas don't play, man. I'm telling you, you mess with with a mama, it's like messing with a mama bear. A mama bear will kill a male grizzly. I mean, will fight to the death. That's why you don't play. You don't even go by bear cubs because that bear will tear you alive. A mama bear does not play, man.
Weighed any personal risk. She later founded the Vanished Collective, a support group for families searching for missing loved ones, turning her private mission into a movement. But Miriam's determination made her a marked woman. In March of 2017, a group of prisoners escaped from a penitentiary in Ciudad Victoria, including individuals linked to Karen's case. Miriam knew her life was in danger, yet she refused to stop. On May 10, 2017, Mother's Day in Mexico, Miriam was ambushed outside her home. As she approached her door on crutches after breaking her foot while
Wow.
chasing a suspect, a white vehicle
Check
pulled
her
up.
out.
Gunmen stepped out and fired 12 shots.
Wow.
Miriam collapsed in her driveway, her hand inside her purse where she kept a pistol. She died hours later on the way to the hospital. Miriam Rodriguez Martinez did not live to see complete justice, but her legacy endured. A month after her death, a woman believed to have tortured Karen was arrested based on Miriam's investigative work. She was posthumously honored in San Fernando's Central Plaza, and her story inspired the 2021 film La Civil. In a country
Wow.
where thousands of parents are left without answers, Miriam refused to be silenced. Number 3. Sarah Sands. At number 3 in this countdown of parents who took revenge into their own hands, we come to Sarah Sands, a mother from East London whose story shocked the United Kingdom. Sarah Sands was a single mother living in Silvertown, East London, when Michael Pleasted entered her life. Pleasted, then 77 years old, presented himself as a gentle, grandfatherly figure, the kind of man neighbors smiled at and parents trusted. What Sands did not know was that Pleasted was a convicted offender with 24 prior convictions for assault offenses who had legally changed his name from Robin Moult to conceal his past.
Wow.
He slowly ingratiated himself into the family's daily life, gaining access to Sands' sons, Bradley, and twins, Alfie and Reese, who were between 11 and 12 years old at the time. The truth emerged in devastating fragments. The boys eventually disclosed to their mother that Pleasted had assaulted them after inviting them to his flat, having first earned their trust through small favors and attention. Sands immediately contacted the police,
Wow.
and Pleasted was arrested and charged with assault offenses involving young individuals. However, to Sands' horror, he was released on bail while awaiting trial. For a mother already drowning in guilt and rage, knowing that the man accused of abusing her children was free to walk the streets proved unbearable.
Wow.
On the night of November 29, 2014, Sarah Sands drank heavily, consuming 2 bottles of wine and a small bottle of whiskey before making a decision that would permanently alter her life. Armed with a 30-centimeter kitchen knife, she went to
Woo.
Pleasted's block of flats in Canning Town. CCTV footage later showed her standing in the lift, physically
Wow.
tense, clutching the blade.
Mama bear.
Sands has always maintained that she did not go there intending to murder him, but to confront him and force a confession, hoping to spare her sons the trauma of testifying in court. Inside Pleasted's flat, the confrontation escalated rapidly. When Sands accused him of assaulting her children, Pleasted denied the allegations and accused her sons of lying. That moment shattered what little control she had left. In what the court later described as a determined and sustained attack, Sands stabbed Pleasted 8 times. He died at the scene. The murder was violent, personal, and fueled by emotional overload rather than calculated intent, a fact that would later shape the legal outcome. Sarah Sands was arrested and charged with murder. At trial, the court heard extensive evidence about her mental
Not
state,
guilty.
her alcohol consumption, and the psychological impact of learning about the abuse inflicted on her children. The jury ultimately cleared her of murder, instead convicting her of manslaughter by reason of loss of control. She was
Wow.
initially sentenced to 3.5 years in prison. However, the Court of Appeal later ruled the sentence unduly lenient, citing the premeditated elements of her actions, and increased it to 7.5 years. Sands served nearly 4 years in prison before being released. While incarcerated,
Wow.
she struggled with severe mental health issues, including post-traumatic stress disorder. In later interviews, she spoke openly about the weight she carries every day, describing the emotional aftermath as relentless and ongoing.
Wow.
Despite this, she has said that she eventually learned to forgive herself, acknowledging that the act came from a place of extreme emotional distress rather than malice.
Heck yeah.
I forgave me, she said, a statement that resonated deeply with many parents who followed her case. Her sons, now young adults, later waived their right to anonymity and spoke publicly about their experiences. They stated that they felt safer knowing their abuser was dead, a revelation that added another layer of complexity to public reactions. Since her release, Sarah Sands has dedicated her life to campaigning against laws that allow convicted offenders to legally change their names, arguing that such practices place
Yeah.
children at continued risk. Number 11, Jason Browning. We have Jason Browning, a father from Daytona Beach, Florida, whose actions in July 2014 drew nationwide attention. Browning's response came after discovering that his 11-year-old son had been assaulted by someone the family trusted, a revelation that immediately turned shock into violent confrontation. According to police, Browning walked into a bedroom and found 18-year-old Raymond Frolander in the act of assaulting his son.
Oh my God.
It's considered almost like family. In that
Wow.
moment, Browning attacked him, beating him so severely that he was left unconscious on the floor. Browning later told authorities that rage took over completely and that he believed Frolander was lucky to be alive. After the beating, Browning admitted he went to the kitchen and grabbed a knife, fully intending to murder Frolander's life. What stopped him, he said, was his son stepping in front of him and
Wow.
begging him not to do it. In Browning's own words, it was his child who saved the life of the man who had been assaulting him. Browning then called 911 himself, calmly telling the dispatcher that he had a man in a bloody puddle and that an ambulance was needed. During the investigation, Frolander confessed to police that he had been assaulting the boy for approximately 3 years. Prosecutors
Wow,
charged him with
man.
lewd or lascivious assault of a young individual. In court, Frolander accepted a plea deal, pleading no contest to avoid a mandatory life sentence. He was ultimately sentenced to 25 years in prison and will be required to register as an offender and wear a GPS monitor upon release. Despite the brutality of the beating,
Man, these
Jason
guys.
Browning was never charged. Daytona Beach Police Chief Mike Chitwood publicly defended the decision, stating that Browning was acting like a dad, and that neither as a police chief nor as a father did he have a problem with Browning's reaction. Images of Frolander's swollen and bruised face circulated widely, sparking public debate about vigilante justice and parental instinct. In the aftermath,
Hey.
Browning briefly created a GoFundMe page seeking financial support for his son, initially asking for $1 million before lowering the amount and eventually removing the page entirely. Law enforcement later criticized the fundraiser, expressing concern that public exposure and donations could complicate the young boy's healing process. Browning explained that the emotional and financial
Oh my
strain on
gosh.
his family was overwhelming, but acknowledged that protecting his son's privacy mattered more than public sympathy or money. Number 12, Leon Gary Plauché. We have Leon Gary Plauché, a father from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, whose actions became a shocking example of a parent taking justice into their own hands. In March of 1984,
I don't know what's up with
Plauché
these
murdered
guys.
a man who had kidnapped and assaulted his 11-year-old son, Joseph Boyce Jody Plauché.
What?
The act, captured on camera at Baton Rouge Metropolitan Airport, drew national attention and remains one of the most infamous cases of parental vigilante justice. The harrowing events began in February of 1984
Wow.
when 25-year-old Jeffrey Doucet, a karate instructor, abducted Jody and took him to a motel in Anaheim, California.
For what?
Doucet had been assaulting the boy for at least a year
Oh
before the
man.
kidnapping, unbeknownst to his parents. Jody was eventually able to make a collect call to his mother, alerting authorities and leading to Doucet's arrest on February
Wow,
29th.
man.
Jody was returned safely to Louisiana on March 1st, ending the immediate nightmare but leaving Plauché consumed with anger and helplessness. In the weeks following his son's return, Plauché meticulously
He was upset. I mean, this guy is a monster. They these people have no place in society when they are brutalizing and physically and spiritually destroying these kids' lives. I mean, they're attacking the weakest ones in our society, and they should get the same brutalness that they give kids. They should receive back and never ever get out, because majority of them just it doesn't change. Society's gotten worse, and there's too many holes in society for them to crawl into when they are released. So yeah, they really, have no place in society. Period. It's crazy. I know, chat. Come on, hit the W's. Let us know what you think on each video, on each one that we go through. Give us your feedback.
Sleep planned his revenge. On March 16, 1984, he waited at the Baton Rouge Metropolitan Airport wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses to avoid recognition and using a payphone to track Doucet's movements. As law enforcement
Wow.
escorted Doucet through the terminal to face trial, Flochet positioned himself across from a news crew that had set up cameras to record the arrival, ready to
Oh
confront the
my
man who had
God.
terrorized his family. As Doucet passed by, Flochet fired a single, close-range shot to the right side of his head. Doucet fell immediately, bleeding from a wound near his ear, and was quickly restrained by police officers while medical personnel attended to him. He fell into a coma and died the following day. The dramatic event was recorded by a local news crew
Jeez.
and has since been widely circulated, appearing in documentaries such as Bowling for Columbine and Anatomy of Crime, as well as on YouTube, where it has garnered millions of views.
Gosh.
Flochet was initially charged with second-degree murder, but his legal team argued he had been driven to a temporarily psychotic state by the trauma inflicted upon his son. Psychological evaluations concluded that he could not distinguish right from wrong at the moment of the shooting. Flochet entered a no contest plea to manslaughter and was sentenced to a 7-year suspended sentence, 5 years probation, and 300 hours of community service.
Wow.
The judge ruled that incarceration
That's it.
served no purpose, noting there was virtually no risk of reoffending. In the years
What?
that followed, Flochet expressed no regret
Oh
for
my
his actions,
gosh.
stating he would have done the same again under similar circumstances. His son, Jody, went on to become an abuse awareness advocate
Kidding
and
me.
described his father as the greatest dad of all time. Number 16, Ellie Nessler. At number 16 in this countdown of parents who took revenge on their child's abuser, we have Ellie Nessler, a mother from Groveland, California,
Wow.
whose name became synonymous with
You
one of
go,
the most
girl.
shocking
You
acts of
go,
courtroom
girl.
vigilantism in American history. Her story is not one of mystery, but of unbearable frustration, prolonged trauma, and a
Yeah.
justice system many felt moved too slowly. What unfolded in a small Sierra Nevada courtroom would ignite a nationwide debate about justice, mercy, and how far a parent can be pushed before reaching their breaking point. Ellie Nessler's life changed years before the shooting that made headlines across the United States. Her young son, William, was among several boys who accused Daniel Mark Driver, a former Christian camp counselor, of assault at a church
Jeez.
youth camp between the
These
late
guys slide in
1980s.
everywhere, man.
Driver had a prior conviction for child assault, yet for years the legal process dragged on. Nessler was forced to relive the trauma repeatedly as hearings were delayed and her son's
Wow.
pain remained unresolved. For a mother watching her child struggle with the aftermath of abuse, every postponement felt like another failure of the system meant to protect him. On April 2nd, 1993, Nessler entered the Tuolumne County Superior Court in Jamestown for a preliminary hearing in Driver's case. Driver, then 35 years old, was facing charges related to the assault of multiple boys,
Wow.
including Nessler's son. who was just 6 at the time of the alleged abuse. What should have been another procedural step
It's
instead
crazy.
became a moment frozen in American legal history. As Nestler was being led toward the witness stand after a recess, she pulled out a concealed handgun and fired 5
Ooh.
shots at Driver, murdering him instantly in front of court officials, spectators, and her own child.
Wow.
Witnesses described the courtroom falling into
She was
chaos,
not
yet Nestler
playing.
herself appeared calm. She surrendered
Can
immediately
you
and
imagine
was
the
taken
pain
into
they
custody
feeling?
without resistance. Some onlookers later claimed Driver had smirked at the family moments before the shooting, a detail repeated by Nestler's relatives as evidence of the deep emotional trigger that set her off. Security procedures were quickly questioned, as spectators had not been searched for weapons before entering the courtroom. In a town of just over 2,000 people, the shooting became the only topic of conversation, dividing residents between shock and sympathy. The case quickly captured national attention. News outlets debated whether Nestler was a grieving mother driven past her limit or a criminal who had executed a man before the law could run its course. The Associated Press
Wow,
wrote that the
man.
murder sparked a national debate on vigilantism, while many ordinary citizens openly admitted they would struggle to convict her if seated on a jury.
Yeah, of
Others
course.
warned that justifying her actions risked endorsing mob justice, even when the victim was accused of horrific crimes
Mob
against
justice.
children.
Come on.
Nestler was initially convicted of voluntary manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years in prison. However, the case took another dramatic turn when her conviction was overturned after it was revealed that jurors had engaged in misconduct, including the use of illegal substances and alcohol during deliberations. The sympathetic image carefully constructed by her defense team was also damaged when it emerged that Nestler had been under the influence of methamphetamine at the time of the shooting. This revelation complicated public opinion, shifting the narrative from righteous vengeance to one clouded by substance abuse and instability. Eventually, Nestler pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter. By that point, she had
Wow.
already spent more than 3 years behind bars as her case
Jesus.
moved through trials and appeals.
This is
She was released
crazy.
in 1997, in part due to serious health concerns after being diagnosed with breast cancer several years earlier. Ellie Nestler's case remains one of the most haunting examples of parental revenge. To some, she will always be the mother who did what the courts could not, protecting her child in the most extreme way imaginable. To others,
Chat, I want to know, what would you do? We're going to cut this tape in half because it's way too long. It's over an hour. I want to know what you would do on these cases
she
here.
represents the danger of allowing personal pain
These
to
are
override
in
the rule of law.
extreme,
Number 10.
extreme cases. We're going to continue them on a separate video. But please subscribe. If you're enjoying what we're doing, subscribe. Push the like buttons. We're trying to get 100 likes this on this video. Let's get 100 likes. We love you guys. We're gonna continue. Remember, Friday night, 7 p.m. is gonna be bringing out the guns. We're bringing out the guns. We got something for you, and we're gonna bring out some new stuff, some fresh stuff, and Friday nights is gonna be exciting. It's gonna be a time of just kicking back, enjoying a good video, and last week we started music for the message, where we're seeing actually sharing a couple of artists also on video, and so that you guys can enjoy it like when you're on your phone or whatever. So we're basically starting like what you call a music list, and that way you can just whoop, push play, and you know what I mean, and enjoy it while you're cleaning the house or whatever it may be, on your headphones, whatever it may be. But listen, man, subscribe, man. Love you guys. We'll see you on the next one, the next big banger.